So today, I'd just like to set the tone a wee bit, just the context of where we are and why we are in this world today looking at fintech and what it's going to do. A couple of last moments. A lot of the companies here, we are all on the red curve. That's how we develop, that's how we're growing. The yellow curve is really important because industries are developing slowly, but they are doubling every year, every year, every year, they keep doubling. Who heard about 3D printing 5 years ago, 10 years ago? It's actually been around for almost 30 years. DNA sequencing has been going on for 10, 15, 20 years. So all of these things were moving very slowly, and suddenly something happens, there's a breakthrough, and it goes straight through. When it goes straight through, you feel very deceived. It's a curve of deception. But the moment it turns, it's over. It's over for your industry, it's over for your job. More than 80% of jobs in the financial services industry will, as they exist today, will not exist in the future. That shift and that churn and that transformation needs to be addressed.
The digital disruption that we're witnessing is fundamentally bringing about new business models that's challenging everything we know and everything we're comfortable with. So this train of disruption has had many stops. The music industry, the car industry, many others. And guess where its next stop is? It's the financial services and banking industry. So, in fact, if you take a look at the at one of Clever, study that was done, 70% of millennials prefer to go to the dentist than actually go to the bank. That's the generation that we're serving, guys, and even the generation before them. If you really take a look at fintech, fintech is all about marrying technology and the financial services industry in the most innovative use of technology to redesign financial services that we actually know today and even introduce new ones that we haven't even imagined of. So as you take things like lending and payment processing and creditworthiness and you marry it with cloud and internet and security principles, you get things like blockchain and peer-to-peer lending and AI, driving the way we advise and the way we determine creditworthiness and all of that. That's a very different world than what we're used to today.
So what we've realized 10 years ago is that if we don't disrupt ourselves, if we don't change ahead of times, we will become irrelevant. We'll go into the museum of this S&P 500. And that realization was painful, was tough, was a challenge, still is. We're transforming, we're changing ourselves. It's not easy, but it's absolutely necessary. And that can be applied to any industry. The real difference now versus before, we believe, and a lot of the people in the industry believe, is the advent of cloud computing. Okay? This is the core game changer, right? The hyperscale cloud has enabled all these scenarios, which existed as sciences in the labs, in the big universities, in the big companies, right? They always have been there, and made them possible to startups, right? To departments, to smaller players. Because innovation does not have to come from one place always. It can come from anywhere. So we see cloud as the major enabler, the difference between back then and now. And that's what we're betting the company on as Microsoft. Cloud computing is the core of what we offer.
My name is Mohammed Al-Sahli, and I am a disruptor. And I mean it. I mean, people are afraid of me when I go into buildings and companies. So the idea started formulating, basically, and I decided to create, basically, the first public and decentralized blockchain in the MENA region. And part of that, because it's a public and a decentralized platform, it requires a fuel. So we created the first cryptocurrency in the MENA region. It is not the resources, it's just, the mind and the heart. If you really put them into an idea that you can make it work. And the interesting part about it, a year ago I was an employee. Today I founded 4 companies. This is one of them, Arabian Chain Technology.
You grow up and that entrepreneurs usually go to school and then they set up a company, they build a career, they succeed, they make money, and then they get married. Well, I did it all the way upside down. I just woke up, was born, got married, had kids, and then I built a career, went back to school, which I'm doing now, and I see so many colleagues from the MBA here, and now I'm setting up my company. I also witnessed the growth of banks. So some of them merged, some of them expanded. Al-Baraka, 12, 13 countries. Every year, a new country. Every 6 months, a new country. Opening branches, hundreds of branches. I saw some companies get swallowed by banks, Tamweel and Dubai Islamic Bank. Speaking of Dubai Islamic Bank, and my friend Ahmed is here, we saw how the bank was almost going bankrupt, and then, you know, with the new management and new leadership, it just shot back to the moon. As a journalist, I was actually in bed with all the banking sector, and then the government sector. And now in this third life, more into the incubators and the startups, it's so much fun. I'm not urging you all to quit your jobs tomorrow and start your companies. I think Tariq Amin would love that. But actually think about what's going on, you know? Somebody's eating somebody, and somebody's eating somebody. And unless you figure it out now, you'll be eaten in a blink. Fintech Galaxy is the hope for the future, is the hope for the kids. It's the hope for this region.
It's a platform that's actually born and stitched together with blockchain technology, with all the principles of the fintech revolution. So in other words, in the slang, we're eating our own dog food to create incredible amount of transparency, to do the KYOC, to fundamentally provide all the principles that the fintech revolution brings. This is all the platform was based on, and at the end of the day, at the outset of the platform, it's a community. So over the next 18 months, we have a pretty fantastic journey. Empowering this platform with the latest technologies from Microsoft and IBM, having the ability to create virtual collaboration sessions and rooms, and actually for institutions to launch innovative problems not yet solved by archaic and traditional technology.
I personally feel that you have a better chance of getting an audience with banks here in the region because there's a lot of hype. Banks essentially don't know what they want, and the market is essentially smaller to get a foot in the door. So if you have a solution which is a pain point essentially that you can address and tell them that this is something that they should be thinking about, and this is how you can solve it, you have a good chance of getting them interested.
So, I mean, we have a good precedence with M-Pesa in Kenya, where 47% of the GDP of the country is flowing through what is essentially a fintech platform, right? So what I would say is the technology should be invisible to the end user. Whether it's blockchain, AI, or whatever, it needs to be invisible. And you need to focus on the customer experience and apply a kind of design thinking methodology and understand what their expectations are and deliver the service in a way that makes sense for them.
So one of the things I think I've spent about 12 years in the Silicon Valley, and been a struggling entrepreneur, and I feel that those regions are more of an hype now rather than a reality, and a lot of the untapped market are actually in the India and the other developing nations, and this is something not new to many people, but I think it's a lot easier having experience firsthand in both the regions. It's a lot easier to be successful in these regions compared to the highly competitive ones.
There definitely is an urgency because, there's money to be made. So I think when people feel that there's money to be made, they realize they need to ramp up and really learn about this space.
Okay, great. The other things we were going to do together is launch an initiative called Mad Fintech, which is an audiovisual platform, and Mohammed Shahid Khan is one of our experts. She's my co-anchor. We're going to be launching that as of next week.